can play some of you the track now, I believe. There we go. Let's do the intro again, chat. Hello everybody and welcome to an all new episode of Mentor Monday. If you don't know and you're just tuning in, Mentor Monday is a live call-in show where we talk about some of the more creative aspects of being a home studio music producer, and you can actually have the opportunity to call into the show, ask your creative, motivating questions, and it's a really fun time. We do this every Monday at around this time. I'm trying to do it at the same time every Monday. The track you just heard is called Fight Night. It's on SoundCloud. I dropped the link in the chat. We made it live on stream. If you go back on my channel, you'll be able to watch the full 2-hour-long live stream where we made that track. But you need to make sure you have notifications turned on because I'm doing these random pop-up live streams so you don't know where it's going to be. It's not scheduled, and we make full beats from scratch. This is the second time we've made a full beat from scratch and posted it right to SoundCloud right after. So that was really awesome. Sammy Gamer asks, when is it going to be on Spotify? I'm not sure if I'll put that track on Spotify, but I do have a new track coming to Spotify and Apple Music, all the streaming services on Saturday. This coming Saturday, August 8th. So be sure you're following wherever you listen to music. If it's Spotify, click the follow button, notifications on there, all that, and you will hear the new track on Spotify, and we'll probably do a live stream breaking down the track too. But some folks have already joined. We have a nice waiting list of calls that I'm super stoked about, and I'm glad that I figured out that little tech issue before we started. Somebody's pointing out my Reaper action figure. Yes, but hello, welcome to the stream. Before we really dig into the Mentor Monday today too, I want to drop one more link in the chat, and that is the link to the podcast. So if you don't know, I've been really uploading a ton of stuff to the podcast feed lately. I was a little more active in it, a few months ago, but now getting more active again. So that link will actually link you to a bunch of different platforms. So I listen to podcasts on Spotify. Maybe you listen to it on the Apple Podcasts app or an Android app. I'm not sure. But if you click that link, you will find links to all the different podcast apps. Go subscribe to it right now, right in this moment. Take a minute, go subscribe to the podcast because I'm posting a bunch of motivating clips that I think will be super helpful for you. Like if you just, when you first wake up, throw on TAETRO Radio, which is the name of the podcast. You'll be motivated for the day. I'm also posting the longer interviews that I know are a lot to watch on YouTube. So you can probably just go ahead and you'll be able to listen to them instead of having YouTube open the whole time. But that's cool. Go check out the podcast. Do that now. And let's get into the Mentor Monday. So we like to start these shows off by, I'll do a little bit of talking ahead of time, like a subject that's kind of on my mind. And then I will go ahead and start taking the calls, which we have a bunch of people waiting already, which I'm stoked about. Should I say hello to the chat though? What's going on, Patel? What's going on, Sammy Gamer? My mom is here, of course. Quizmat Vibes or Kismat Vibes. Gabu is here. What is going on, Gabu? Delirium is here. Carlos Pineda. Adam Starfall, what's going on? Yusuf, hello, welcome. Lakshit, what's going on? Curly Soul, Drillbit. I hope I'm not skipping people. Lucas, what's going on? 820 Beats. Who else? Diego, what's going on? I'm sorry if I skip your name. Hey, my dad's here too. Look at that. Yep, I think I'm caught up with names. Gabriel, what's up? DCL Drone, hello. I'm stoked for you all to be here. Love the new faces. Love the returning faces. John Cozen, what's up? Hello. Kai Haley, how's it going? Who am I missing? I think I'm caught up. There's so many names. Guys, it's getting to a point where the Mentor Mondays, you guys are all showing up, and it's hard for me to actually rattle off everybody's names. Delirium, the Music Man, Neil, what's going on? You look so excited. Alman, what's going on? Max. Yes, I already said those names. Great. Now I'm not even caught up with the chat. But hello, folks. I'm sorry, Samuel Messiah. I think I said hello already. I'm losing track, but great. This is great. Of course, you guys are already doing the swipe up spam in the chat. I appreciate that. I already posted my swipe up ahead of the stream, though. What you can do instead of spamming the chat with the swipe up, because I know you guys are ahead of the game, is instead just copy the link to the stream and send it to a friend who you think might like watching it. We just hit 91K subscribers, which I'm super stoked about. Like, that's crazy. It went from 90 to 91K really fast. And this video coming out tomorrow that you all are very much going to like, and I think will do well for the subscriber count. But anyway, that was a really long intro. We worked out the technical kinks. I've got my coffee. Let's do some Mentor Monday. I hope I can motivate some of you today and for the rest of the week. It's kind of like a little Motivation Monday. MTMYL, that's true. Make the music you love. Sanjay C, a great friend and fellow YouTuber. He's really cool. Today's subject for Mentor Monday, what I want to kind of talk about, because what's coming up a lot in these calls is motivation and finding points in time to be, motivated and to keep your steady workflow. And I think it's easy to watch other YouTubers and myself, YouTubers like myself, and think that, we're highly motivated all the time. We're constantly making music or constantly making videos, whatever it may be. And that's not obviously the case. You're obviously seeing us, other YouTubers and myself, put out some of our best work because that's what we want facing out to the world. But you're not seeing the in-between times and the struggle. So on that note, the song that I just played you, Fight Night, was made on stream like we discussed before. And actually that night, before I started streaming, I basically had two choices. I could just have a chill night because it was kind of later in the evening. I was about to go either watch some YouTube, but then I had it in my head like, oh, maybe I should stream. Maybe I should do a little pop-up stream and make a beat. And at that point, at that decision point, I could have gone two routes. I could have just taken a chill night, watch some YouTube, and that's fine. But I also could have streamed. And I felt that spark to go do something else other than just relax, when other times I don't really feel that spark. I just go and relax and chill and watch some YouTube. But what I can tell you about motivation is you should trust yourself that those sparks of motivation will come. But it's really two parts, because you shouldn't feel bad if you're feeling tired or if you want to just do some escapism, watch a movie, YouTube, whatever it may be. Don't make yourself feel bad about it if that spark isn't there. But when that spark is there and you have the decision to go one of two ways, which is the path of the spark that's been ignited in you, aka like the productivity spark, or the spark of, just go relax. When that spark is present, the productivity spark, take advantage of it, because we don't know when it'll be back again. So when that alternative idea pops into your head, like, oh, should I go play some Call of Duty or should I go make a beat? The fact that you're even having that moment of contemplation tells you that there's that spark of motivation that should maybe take the productivity route in that moment. And of course, there will be moments where you go for the escapism route. But it's important, if you're taking advantage of the sparked productivity, moment, that you take advantage of that moment, because that will make you feel less bad when you take advantage of the moments of relaxation or escapism. You won't feel bad about yourself. And you will also just gain more and more trust in yourself that spark is indeed going to come. So just because in a certain moment you aren't feeling super motivated doesn't necessarily mean that moment of motivation might not come soon in the future. So when I'm having moments of not feeling motivated and I don't have that spark, I take advantage of those moments in the same way and just take the time to myself to either, play some video games, watch some movies, take some chill time to relax. And then I don't feel bad about it because I trust that a moment of motivation, a spark of motivation will come. It might not be today, it might be tomorrow, might be the next day, but it always comes. And when the spark of motivation does come, it's often very productive. So for me, when I feel that spark, I get a lot done, and I can get a lot done in a day, and I don't feel that yearning to go do some escapism activity or something. So I totally try to take advantage of those sparks of productivity and motivation, and I definitely suggest that you do it. But it's not just about taking advantage of the moment of productivity, the spark of productivity. It's also about allowing yourself moments of escapism and relaxation, and trusting yourself that the motivation and productivity will come. And you'll be more productive if you trust that internal process, because you won't be having, feelings of depression or sadness or, lack of confidence just because you aren't taking advantage of every single moment. Because I can tell you from my point of view, from my reality is I'm not taking advantage of every single moment to be productive and to make beats or to make videos. I'm just not. It's not realistic for me. For some people it is. For me, it's not. So for the moments that I'm feeling the spark of productivity, I take advantage. That's my words of wisdom for, the top of the Mentor Monday today. But I'm really excited to take some calls today. Somebody's pointing out my Reaper action figure. You're right. That is a Reaper action figure. I replaced some of the stuff on the shelves with action figures because I wanted it to look a little cooler around here. But, let me know if you went ahead and subscribed to the podcast. I would love to know in the chat because we're going to go start taking some calls, but I've just dropped the podcast link again. And I'm curious to see how many of you will subscribe to the podcast and, start listening to it because new episodes are coming out throughout the week. So get ready for it. Shall we get into some calls? I'm super stoked. I will also take questions from the chat. So feel free to put them in there. If I don't answer them right away, I'll ask you to retype them. And let's dig in. Make sure if I'm going to take your call, like Oxygen, you're going to be the first one up. The stream is a little bit delayed, so when I take your call, it'll be a little ahead of what you're actually listening to on the show. And make sure that the Mentor Monday stream is turned down. Just turn down the YouTube volume when I take your call. So Oxygen, I'm going to pull you in from the waiting room. And when you call in, folks, you don't need to be on video. You call in, you're put into a waiting room, and then I pull you in one at a time. So don't worry about joining too early or too soon because you can jump right in. Hey, Oxygen.
Wait a second. It's on speakers. I will...
Go ahead. You switch that up.
Wait. I don't know why my audio interface is...
No problem. I'm live on stream, and I have, my own audio issues, as everybody could see from the beginning.
I got it.
Cool.
Can you say something?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Nice. I got it. Yes, I hear you.
Awesome. So I see your username is Oxygen. Did you want to share her real first name?
I'm Dominic. Hello.
Hi, Dominic.
How are you doing, TAETRO?
I'm doing great.
How's your day?
It's so far so good. Where are you calling in from?
I'm from Czech Republic.
Amazing. This is your first time calling into the show, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Great.
Yes, you're right.
Well, thanks for calling in for the first time. Welcome to the stream. What's your question today?
My first question is, I wanted to ask you if you have some type of ritual before you doing like music, or if you make coffee before, or if you read something what motivates you, or is there something, because I like to smoke. To be honest, I really like to smoke and make music. And I really like to smoke before I go do some music. And it makes me, I don't know, maybe feel like I can make some ideas that I don't really think of when I'm not high, when I say it like that.
Yeah.
But other times when I'm sober, it's really nice too. Like there's some different types of ideas that pops when I'm in some different stages or states.
Yeah. So that's really cool that you kind of know you and your ritual. It's interesting. Like I'm completely sober. Like I don't drink or smoke anything at all. But more power to you. Like if that's your ritual and you feel like you work well with that. I don't do anything like that at all, except my one vice, which is coffee, of course. And I've started introducing tea a little bit into the rotation as well, because I was drinking a lot of coffee. And I think that can have like kind of some negative effects being over caffeinated, but it doesn't affect me that much. But in terms of ritual, I don't have too much of a ritual. Some things that will spark creativity or spark me sitting down to, feel creative and get the creative juices flowing is watching just some amazing. I watch a lot of YouTube, watch a lot of videos. And if I watch an artist, either an artist interview, like some famous producers, not necessarily the technical videos where they're kind of breaking down, sound design and audio engineering and stuff like that, but some of the videos about certain producers and their stories and how they got to where they are and, how they set up their spaces, that really motivates me to work in my space. And, I guess I don't have, this isn't so much a ritual as it is, just kind of controlling my environment and my setting. But having this studio and like any space that I've ever had to work in, and having it set up in a way that's, clean and aesthetically pleasing, like you see behind me, I'm surrounded by my favorite tools, and like you guys can't see it, but up even higher there's even more controllers and things that inspire me, like Star Wars helmets, and then there's action figures over here which also work to inspire me. Just being in the space and having the cool lighting and having all the things that I love all around me is very, very motivating, so that when I have that moment of motivation, I sit down and I feel like I've arrived, I have that dedicated space. And, I just moved into this spot where I've got this dedicated room, but I didn't always have that. I had most of the time either my studio was part of my bedroom or my studio was part of my living room. But no matter where I was, I always made sure the space kind of felt a bit, at home, and felt like a space that I could sit and be creative. So that's not so much a ritual, but it is so much like preparing my space, to be a space of creativity.
Man, I really, really love your studio. I'm watching you like for a year now.
Oh, amazing. So you've seen the progression. You've seen how it's changed.
Yes. And it's so nice. I love it so that much. The pink light there and the skeleton. I was looking for the skeleton head because it's so nice and I love it so much.
Yeah.
I always look at it. It's so nice.
On Instagram, Neon MFG, that is the account of the company that makes the neon lights, and they make all different kinds of neon lights. They're not sponsoring anything, I just bought it, but if folks are looking for their own neon light, Neon MFG.
Yeah, I think I found them because they make like dogs neon and stuff. And my girlfriend really loves dogs, so I thought I would buy her some.
Yeah.
That's so nice. Thank you for your answer. It was really helpful.
Of course.
Because you make me feel like I can do something. It's like really weird to me because I never had this motivation from anybody on YouTube. And when I came to you, it was from the Launch Key Mini MK3.
Great.
And I bought it and I watched your tutorials. I got myself with it. I love it so much. And I kind of upgraded from more stuff. I now got my Yamaha's HH8.
Nice.
And they're really good. I love them.
Amazing
so much,
studio monitors, yeah.
Yes, I can. It's so weird because I did it on my headphones, the Sony ones, the really popular ones. I don't know the name one. I don't want to put them off, but they're so good. But it never really translates well to other platforms. And now I feel like I can do so much stuff, and it made me so motivated. And I every day make stuff, and it's so cool. I love you.
Thank you so much. I'm really honored to hear that. I hope I can continue motivating. That's what brings me joy in doing this content, is like making sure other home studio producers around the world who are just like me can be motivated to create stuff, and we can all feel like we're not alone, because a lot of times we don't know other people that do what we do. So it's nice to connect in this digital community, and I think it helps motivate us all.
The long form you did when how you're making the beats, the long form is, I think, really, really helpful for people, because how you said, people always see the finished product.
For sure.
They don't see the struggle behind it. They don't see how people just spend 40 times on some stupid melody that just doesn't work.
Absolutely.
They screw it and then come again. And obviously, right, like people can do stuff, but it just takes a lot of effort.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I'll probably do some more of those, because I did do a follow-up to the first long-form video. For those of you who don't know, Dominic is talking about a video where I film the entire beat-making process from not having any ideas to like finally finishing a beat, and I film the process, but then I do like a commentary over it, essentially, where I kind of explain. So instead of, it's not like a live stream where I'm talking about what I'm doing as I'm doing it, I just go ahead and do it. And then I go back and add a commentary over it and very much explain all the parts. And I think, like you said, a lot of people are enjoying that video. If you have liked those long form videos too, let me know what you think, because I've done 2 of them. I can definitely keep them going as a series. But thank you so much for calling in, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, TAETRO.
Have a good one. It was your first call. I hope you'll make it a second one soon.
Yes, for sure.
Have a good one.
Have a good night.
You too.
Or it's not night, it's day, right?
Night for
Okay.
you. Have a good night to you. See
Have
ya.
a good day. Bye.
Bye. Great first call. Let's keep it rolling with the calls because sometimes we go overtime and it goes for long. But JC, I'm tapping you in. Make sure you mute that stream and you're coming to the calls on Mentor Monday. Somebody asked what Star Wars helmets I have. I have a Stormtrooper, all black Stormtrooper, and Kylo Ren. And then I also have like a clone trooper helmet as well. But that's over there. JC, I should say, you're connecting to audio. So just see if you can hit accept or unmute or whatever. I'll just throw you back in the waiting room if not, and I'll grab somebody else, and then I'll call on you in a bit. I'll just throw you back in the waiting room. Oh, JC, you're on. Make sure you mute that stream. Welcome to Mentor Monday.
Hey, teacher, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Another day, another dollar, you know?
That's what I'm talking about. Where are you calling in from?
I'm in East Coast, United States.
East Coast, amazing. I just moved from the East Coast to the West Coast, so.
Right on. Are you liking it?
So far, so good. It's kind of an interesting experience, moving in a pandemic and not being able to go out much. So right. I'm just home. Regardless of where home is, I'm stuck at home.
Right on.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, I'll give you a little context.
Totally.
I've been probably like the last 2 years. I've separated from like a band, and we were doing like independent tours, and doing really trying to make it a thing.
Yeah.
It fell out. So lately I've been doing stuff on my own, and your videos have been very helpful in terms of like teaching me how to do stuff on my own when I'm used to other people filling out the gaps.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. And thank you. But so I finally felt confident enough with one piece. And so I went to a producer to kind of, engineer it into something that could be, commercial value. And I went into it thinking, I'm going to try to say yes as much as possible. But I found myself, kind of compromising things that, I tried not to be married to too many things because I want the best product possible, but also, I kind of felt like I was compromising my vision and what I wanted. So I guess I'm asking, what do you do when you're not used to like a collaborative effort and you need to kind of trust yourself a little bit? Like maybe I just answered my own question, but I'm struggling
a little bit like, yeah. So it is this you're walking on like a blade's edge here, because at one level I understand you wanting to go in with this collaborative effort in this producer and say yes to as much as possible, but because you want to be easy to work with, you also want, to open it up for the other person to have some creative input. But then again, you have to make a decision. Is it truly your creative vision? And are you super clear with that creative vision? And that's something that I've had to get a lot better at over the years. I've played in some bands as well, with some very close friends. And, for the most of my music career, I have been completely solo. So this TAETRO project, and then my project previous to this, completely solo. And I've always just loved working that way. Music has always been a very, very independent, internal thing for me. And it comes down to kind of what you said is I'm not looking to compromise my vision. I mean, that's why I got into music production in the first place, because I wanted to produce my own songs and I wanted to produce them how I wanted to produce them. Now, what that meant for me is a lot slower process, because now not only did I have to learn how to write good songs, but I also had to learn how to produce them. And not only did I want to learn how to make great beats, but I also had to learn like all this music production and audio engineering techniques and setups that I wouldn't have otherwise had to learn if I collaborated with somebody. So it is a decision you have to make about how committed you are to your own personal vision. And it really is about trusting yourself as a creative vision. I've had the opportunity to work as a creative director on on a few different teams on a few different projects. And what I realized is I've built myself up to a point where I have a very clear creative vision, and there are certain things that I'm willing to compromise on, and I'm very internally honest with myself about what I'm willing to compromise on, and then there are very much things that I'm not willing to compromise on. And making the distinction between those two has been, a breakthrough in my creative directing work, because you have your vision, especially you in your musical project, you're the creative director. So you have your vision, and you have to trust that you know exactly what you want when you want it. And the things that you have strong feelings about, you don't compromise on. The things you don't have strong feelings about, you can compromise a little bit on. And it's okay to say that you don't know exactly what you want, but that's not it, and that's not it. Oh, that's a little closer. And work with a person that way. But it's actually easier for the people you're working with if you have that clarity of things you're unwilling to compromise on. So there is the factor of you could, instead of working with a producer, go and try to learn all these things yourself, which will be a more time-consuming process, but will be more of a way of assuring that you're able to get what you want. But for instance, for me, I work with a lot of visual artists because I'm not visual art inclined at all. And I had to very much learn to clearly communicate exactly what I want with visual artists, because there's so much that you think you're communicating to somebody and you think they see in their head what you see in your head, but they really don't if you don't communicate it clearly. So it's two parts. It's trusting the things, or finding those creative decisions that you feel super strongly about and not be willing to compromise on those things. And then it's, finding things that you're willing to let go of, and, maybe you're unsure of what you want or what direction you want these creative decisions to take, but you can, of course, let somebody else take the wheel, but also being open with them, because it's not about compromising for everything. It's not about saying yes as much as possible. It's about saying yes to the things you are willing to let somebody else make a decision for. There are things in your music, I'm sure, that you do not want to compromise on, that you have a very specific vision, and you need to communicate those clearly and not compromise on those things. What's going to make that easier is if you just get better at communicating your ideas as accurately as possible. And that only gets better over time, the more people you work with. So you worked with one producer this time around. When you work with like 5 more producers or 5 more creatives, depending on the field, you will get much better at communicating your ideas a lot clearer and making known the things you are unwilling to compromise on. Because if you're not communicating your ideas clearly, the person you're working with has no choice but to improvise and go their own way. And if you give them that space to do that, and then you're constantly pushing back, they're just going to get to a point where they're frustrated because you had an idea that you couldn't communicate clearly, that if you had communicated it from the jump at the top, they could have very easily probably have executed what you had originally wanted. So I guess that's a long way of saying that you'll learn to be better over time, but to also, get better at communicating ideas and figure out what you feel most strongly about and what you're unwilling to compromise on.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is just trying to find the balance between, what you're trying to accomplish in your, your endeavor, and then
Mm-hmm.
also being able to glean, stuff from whoever it is that you are collaborating with, in a way that benefits everyone involved, and then doing it in a way that, doesn't come off as like being an asshole, or, because I think that's another thing that I'm struggling with, is like, in reference to the band thing, if I wasn't sure about something, I could just turn to the guitarist or the drummer, and then knowing that they had equal stake in what we were trying to do, I could trust that they're going to be like, okay, yeah, this is shit, or like,
Absolutely.
dude, that was really good, keep doing that, so now this time around, I'm kind of just like, figuring out like, okay, I'm trying to think of the way to say this, but just basically like being on your own, and then trusting yourself, but not being too overconfident in yourself that you make the project suffer, if that makes
Absolutely.
sense.
And we talked about this on the last Mentor Monday, but subjectivity is really important. Like, you are a test audience of one. So what you think is good, of course it is your creative vision and you want to believe it's good. But you're just one person. When we talk about making music, we're making music for like large groups of people that we hope a lot of people will enjoy. And all of those people have different tastes. So that's also been like a freeing thing to think, you know, whether it's taking advice from another creative person and, you know, deciding one way or another, yes, I'll take that advice, or no, that doesn't fit with my vision. But at some level, you trust the feedback that you're getting and you're like, I didn't see it that way. I bet a lot of other people also see it that way, a way I don't see it. So trusting that subjectivity, that you're only a test audience of one, and while it is your creative vision, you know, your music is for a lot more than one person. And what were you doing in the band? Were you the bass player or singer?
No, I was like lead vocals.
Lead vocals.
So I was like a front man, yeah.
Yeah, so think about that, like you as the lead vocalist, and if you have a traditional band setup, drums, guitar, bass, you're not micromanaging those three. Those three each have their own job and their own role and their own responsibility, and unique ones at that. So while everybody in the band might collaborate and might pitch in ideas on different elements of the song, whether it's song structure or the feel, especially for the drummer or whatever, at some level, you're trusting the bassist, the guitar player, and the drum player to do what they do best and make creative decisions within their own specialty. So if the guitarist has his specialty or her specialty, they're playing, and you're just trusting. You're not really thinking too much about, you know, you might have some notes for them, but you're not really critically thinking too much about what the guitar player is doing as long as it's good. Whereas if you were the guitar player, you're thinking a lot more critically about what you're doing because that's your particular role and responsibility. So try to explode that out to production and your collaborators in production. And you're able to let go of a lot of things. But then when you're able to let go of a lot of small individual things and not hold the project up, you're also able to better put your energy behind communicating the ideas you feel most strongly about.
For sure. It's a lot to reflect on. But
a lot to reflect on. And it's a process. Trust the process and trust that it's going to take time. I can't give you the red pill to take and,
right.
you know, immediately get it, you know?
No one can.
No one can. Do it, Yep. Thank you for calling in, JC.
Hey, thanks for the words, man.
Have a good one. Before we take another call, chat, I see Johnny B. Good is in our chat. And if you don't know, you all should go check out Johnny B. Good. I think he's got some YouTube videos, but on Instagram, he's also very, very active. Johnny B. Good in the chat. Very inspiring stuff. Asks, hey, TAETRO, I have a question for you. I'm seeing more up-and-coming beat makers say they just need more gear to make better beats and get more of a following. Can you speak to that? Yeah, it's total BS. It's not true. You do not need more gear to make better beats or whatever. Whatever you have, whether you have a phone, whether you have a laptop, whether you have a tablet or an iPad, whether you have a groove box, you can make something really amazing. And you don't have to go any further than to just watch people make stuff that have made it. You know, I watch some Nick Mira videos, he's a very famous producer. And, you know, there's videos of him, like he's a platinum selling record producer, young guy. And there's videos of him just making beats sitting with just his laptop, you know, using the laptop keyboard as his keyboard. He doesn't need any of these keyboards behind me. I mean, sure, adding one of these tools to the setup, you know, might make things a little bit easier. It might give you a different ergonomic feel and might lead to different musical ideas. But if you come from a mindset that you're sort of lacking something you need to succeed, you're never really going to get there. And you have to really flip your perspective to think about the abundance, how what you have is exactly what you need for that moment and you don't really need much more. So what can you do with what you have? If you have this imaginary studio in your head that's constantly evolving, where you just have a laptop, but you're imagining a studio that has a bunch of MIDI keyboards, some synthesizers, some drum machines. If you're constantly putting yourself in that imaginary place and saying, oh, once I have all that, I'll be able to do what I want, you're going to take so long to get to where you are. And you're not going to be able to build yourself up in the meantime. So don't be in that imaginary place. Work with what you have and realize everything that you have is what you need at the moment. That's my answer, Johnny. Be good. I hope that was helpful. Let's take a couple other calls. Who do we got? Austin Butler. Let's bring you in, Austin. Hey. Oh, Austin is connecting via audio. Austin, what's up?
Hello?
Welcome back to the show, right?
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yes.
Hey.
I think it's my second time calling.
Awesome. Welcome back.
Thank you. So I guess my question this Monday is geared more towards finding like a cohesiveness in like a loop that you make. You know, it's just, I feel like everything that I listen to, like everything sounds so like it's meant to be there for
Totally.
the right reasons. And it's really difficult for me, at least, to find like cohesiveness with my drums, because I kind of look at it in like two ways. It's like I really like try to pick the best samples that I can whenever I'm throwing them into like a project. I want it to all work together. And so I guess my question would be, other than, or it's like a two-part question. So other than your general EQ, and all of that, what are some extra creative mixing techniques to help fit maybe like a drum group together? So I saw a video of somebody using Corpus on their drum group, just as an example, and I tried that, and it helped. It brought a lot of energy.
Nice.
It just the right amount of like tonality throughout like my track, which was like
For
a big win for me,
Yeah.
when you find those little small tips that help you and end up working. So I guess my question is like, what can you do within your general, processing? Like, what do you do within your general, EQs and stuff to help kind of create that tonality? And then what are some, maybe like an extra creative mixing tip?
Yeah. So one very easy kind of technical tip for you, drum specific, is like tuning the drums, which you might already be doing. But even drums that don't sound like they have a tone, like a kick drum, for example, an 808, of course, has a tone. But something like a simple kick drum, we might think doesn't necessarily have a resonance or a tone. But if you put an EQ, or like an EQ8 or an EQ where you actually can see the spectrum on the kick drum, and you just play the kick drum and you see that peak, that point where it's resonating, you can use that EQ to figure out the frequency. And the frequency actually tells you the pitch.
Okay.
And if you tune that, especially the kick drum, this could go for a lot of different drums too, like snare. If you tune that kick drum to the root of your track, you will get a lot more clarity and it'll clash a lot less, even though it sounds like it's not quite a tonal instrument. It is still resonating at a frequency that can or can't clash with your mix. And another thing,
I use Spectrum all the time.
Yeah. So that's one very, very quick thing. Of course, EQing plays a big role. I'm sweeping low end out of most everything so things don't get cluttered. So the only things in my mixes and my beats that exist with low end are, bass, 808, and kick drum. And, sometimes the kick drum and the 808 can get in the way of each other, but it's just a matter of carving out a little EQ point in your bass or in your 808 that carves out, where that frequency of the kick drum is hitting. And that means like subtractive EQ, like bringing down the frequency range of that kick drum, but within your 808 and within your bass. Of course, that's it. And to go back to what you said, this is less technical and more of just an arrangement and composition idea. But what you said about when you listen to tracks and everything feels like they have a place. And that is very, very true. And I've been learning more. I've been trying to absorb more and more about this lately in my listening. And one of the traps that I used to fall into, I still fall into it sometimes, especially since a lot of my work is making beat videos for different sound packs, which means I'm trying to show off as many different sounds in the sound pack as possible in like a very short amount of time, like a minute to 2 minutes. Okay. And in doing that, I have to create a lot of layers and I have to create a lot of sounds. But what I've tried to get better at doing is not cluttering up the mix, because a lot of times,
that's my problem.
Yeah, in our early creative process, especially when we're just working in Ableton Session View or just working on our initial loop, we tend to just layer on and layer on and layer on. And so part of it is that's like the most fun part, is coming up with new ideas and figuring out how to fit a bunch of different puzzle pieces together. But at the end of the process, you end up with like way too many tracks and way too many sounds. So I come from a traditional, like rock pop music background, so it's easy for me to think about things in a traditional band setup where you have the drums, bass, guitar, singer. And, what role do all of those play? Well, the guitar player is usually playing some chords, and maybe you have two guitar players. You have one guitar player playing some chords. That's the harmonic basis of your track. You have a lead guitar player playing some riffs on top of that. You have your bass player who's like, rock bottom, like guiding the harmony of the track. And then you have your drums, which is your groove. Add on top of that your singer, which is your melody. You have the top thing, the thing that's most important for you to listen to. Now, when we think about this setup, there's two things that can really clash here: the lead guitar and the singer. And I know I'm talking about this in a band setting, but for those of you at home, try to imagine this analogy for your beat mixes and stuff like that. You have your lead melody, the thing you want people to listen to, and then you have another sound that exists in the same space that's kind of playing like a lead riff or something, but is just supposed to be part of the backdrop. It's not really supposed to be in the front. Well, you have to mix those things appropriately. And, it comes down to, EQing and volume mixing, like making sure the melody is coming out a little bit louder than that. It can also come out spatially. How are you using your panning? So if you have your melody, the thing you want people to listen to, it should be cutting through, the loudest, of course, but it should also be dead center. It's center stage. Everything else, the bass isn't going to get in the way because it's super low. So we keep the bass in the center, but it's low frequency range, so it's not sticking out in front. Stuff like a lead guitar or a keyboard instrument, that stuff can easily be panned right or left, which will help cut your main melody through. But then also realize what we just talked about, the basic core setup of a quote-unquote band, right? Drums, two guitars, a bass, and a lead singer. That's only 5 elements. Now think about how many of your tracks have more than 5 elements. I know a lot. I know a lot of my tracks can end up having a lot of more than 5 elements too. But once I start getting beyond 5 and I get to 6, 7, 8, really when I get to 8, I have to start thinking about, is this too much? Especially if we want all these things to happen at the same time. I think 8 things is definitely way too many things to happen at the same time. I can still have 8 elements, but if maybe we take away, if we have 3 and 3, the way we compose and arrange the track.
Into like a motif.
Into arranging them so that there's different combinations of different sounds at different times, and they each play their own role. So you don't need multiple things in the space of a lead. You need one lead. You don't need multiple things taking up room in the bass line. You just need one bass line. And make sure, be very deliberate. Does this need to exist in my track? Or does this need to exist in this moment? So what I do, I constantly build up those loops. I'll get to about, say 8 loops. And when it comes time to arrange, I'm not stacking them all up at once. I'm finding what each one's role is. Or I might stack them all up at once, and then I might start taking things out. I might start muting things along the way. And if I mute something and it doesn't really affect the track, if it doesn't really have a noticeable change, or if it actually takes away some clutter and makes other things a lot more clearer, then I leave it out and I say, okay, I'll use this by itself. I'll use it in a different combination where I take out some other layers and use just this layer. So it is about listen to your track and start muting things, mute different elements, and figure out what the base, most simple version of your musical idea or loop could be. And then build from there, and then arrange them in different ways so that you can either use all of your musical ideas or this is the last thing, is don't be precious about them. If something is throwing off your mix, if something is just not working in the track, yes, you created it, and all of our musical ideas, are our babies, but sometimes we gotta throw out certain musical ideas, and we can't be too precious about them. If it's,
Gotcha.
don't try, it's like forcing a puzzle piece that doesn't fit. Like, just because the puzzle piece exists doesn't mean it fits in the puzzle, or it needs to be forced into a specific place. So don't try to force in musical ideas that don't work.
Gotcha. So I used FL for the longest time. I'll just wrap it up real fast. I don't want to take too long. But I used FL for the longest time, and ever since I switched to Ableton, I haven't really made loops in the arrangement view to where I can go click the play button on the mixer and play different ones at the same time. Do you think that has helped you with your arrangements and kind of finding that, like a motif within your song or a idea? Because I'm just using the track view right now and using percussion on like MIDI, because that's what I just did in FL. So has creating loops inside the arrangement view helped you with
it? Does.
With that?
It helps a little bit, because that's when usually this problem arises. You're having fun, you're creating musical ideas, you're stacking things up, but you're not really, in that moment, you're not listening critically to how everything is interacting. You're just getting excited off creating the different ideas. Once you get into arrangement, then you're thinking about, how does this all fit together? So definitely stop yourself at a certain amount of loops, whether it's once you feel like you have your bases covered, those main bases we talked about before, jump over to arrangement view and bring everything in and figure out how you can best arrange it. Because once you get it there and you stack everything up vertically like this, and you can do what we talked about, start muting stuff and taking stuff out and building up and creating a structure, then you're really starting. Once you're in arrangement view, you're not thinking about adding layers. You're not thinking about adding new musical ideas. You're thinking about how do all these puzzle pieces fit together. So and that's one of my main tips for Ableton users in general, is end every session. If you work in session view, before you close out, before you save, go into arrangement view and start mapping out an arrangement. Because a lot of people just get stuck with a bunch of projects that are session view projects, and they never leave session view.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens to me. It's tough to take yourself out of thinking so critically about one thing.
Yes, and just
start thinking more.
If you can program that into your workflow, where it's like, okay, you feel like you're done, but not until you take this last step, not until you drop everything into arrangement view. And even if you just get a 1 minute, 2 minute arrangement, then you start to realize things like, hey, okay, these loops go well together in this section. If I drop this out here, it makes for a really good, verse or pre-chorus kind of section. And then you realize, oh, there's a space here. I'm getting to the 1 minute mark. I'm not really hearing anything new. Maybe I need a B section. Now, think about this. Once you get to that arrangement view and you stacked up a bunch of loops and you run out of loops and you want to make a B section, it's not about adding new layers. It's about using the layers that you have. Because think about the band again. A rock band, you have your verse, chorus, pre-chorus, outro, whatever. Throughout all those sections, they don't go switch all their instruments, or they don't bring in 5 new band members for a new section. They continue on. They just use those instruments to play different musical ideas to create new sections. So now when you're in that arrangement view and you've built up with the loops that you have, and you say, okay, now it's time for a B section, or now I need something different, you use the sounds you already have in the same capacity. You use your, chord sound to continue playing chords, but it plays a different chord progression. Your bass sound plays the bass line that follows this new chord progression. Your melody line plays a new melody. Your ambient stuff, plays something new. Or some things carry over and some things change. But that jumping over to arrangement view will really, really help you with this, because it'll help you get into that mindset of fitting the puzzle together rather than trying to, create the pieces of the puzzle yourself.
Gotcha. Okay. No, I really appreciate it.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to start dropping the loops into the arrangement view and working them out before
Absolutely.
You close your laptop or whatever you do at the end.
Even if you just do it as a last step and you don't do anything too extensive, when you open the project up next time, you'll be so much further along. You'll have started on the arrangement, so you won't feel tempted to jump back into session view and come up with more stuff that's going to clutter up the mix. You'll be in arrangement mode next time you open up the project.
Because that's like right where I'm getting stuck just every time. And I'm not sure if it's what I'm making isn't working or if it's just a workflow thing that I need to kind of like move past.
It of course could be both. Some tracks are better and you probably feel better about some tracks than others, but I can guarantee you taking this arrangement step, I've been through that. A lot of Ableton users go through that, getting stuck in the loop. But I think you take that advice, you start doing arrangement stuff, you'll be a lot further along for sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Totally. Thank you so much for calling in.
Of course.
Have a good one.
All right, you too. Bye.
Good call, chat. How many of you are stuck in the loop? Let me know. Is that an issue you have? Have you all taken the advice? Because we talked about that before, jumping into arrangement view. Let me know if you've taken the advice and it has worked out well for you. I would love to see who else is in the chat. Have I missed some questions? Do you or anyone else in the chat, this is Power Pickle asks, know of a drum sequencer plugin with a drag and drop samples? I don't use FL or Ableton, but I would love a drum sequencer. Well, I would recommend that you try the free trial of Ableton Live because it's free and unlimited. Second of all, I don't know. I don't know. You really need to be working in a DAW. Maybe you're a Reaper user or a more traditional DAW user, but it's worth probably. If that's holding you back, you need a more robust DAW for sure. I know that's probably not what you want to hear, but I'm sorry. Hey, TAETRO, I have a question. I don't have money to buy a DAW. This is Laksheet. MIDI controllers and other gears. I use an app named BandLab, which isn't great to work with, and I love music making and beat making. Can you help me? Absolutely. So BandLab, is a cool idea. It's basically like this collaborative tool app where you can make music and share projects. But there's other apps out there. There's lots of free apps. I love the Groovebox app on iOS. I'm not sure if it's on Android. There's the Beatmaker app, which isn't free, but it's like $30, which is a lot cheaper than most DAWs. There's the iMachina app. There's the MPC app. Many, many different apps out there that you can use. Just keep surfing until you find an app that does what you need. The Rolling Noise app. MPC Studio. I don't know how I didn't mention this, but MPC Beats, I believe the software is called. Akai just released free beat making software, MPC Beats, I believe it's called. Check that out. Go to Akai's website, find MPC Beats. It's totally free. It's a software version. I think you're limited to 8 tracks, but that's plenty of their MPC software. Absolutely. If you're looking for a free DAW, try that out. Oh, sorry you couldn't make it on the call, Mark. Apologize. Lots of calls to take. Savage asks, is it necessary to tune your kicks, snares, percussion? Not necessary, but if you are feeling some clash in your drums in the mix, you might want to do that. My light went out. I think that one's going to go out soon too anyway. Yes. Great. I see people sharing their own tips. Gabu asked, easy and cheap way to plug my guitar into a DAW. You got to find a cheap audio interface. They make very cheap ones, I think, for, I think IK Multimedia or whatever. But you need an audio interface. You can get them for less than $100. There might be like some $50 versions. That's what you need, audio interface. Plug your guitar right in. Great. Let's go ahead and jump into some more calls. Got a few waiting. Let's grab Yusuf out of the chat. And folks, I'll post the link one more time in the chat if you haven't had a chance to call in. I'm pasting it in the chat now, I think. Oh, my keyboard was off. Let's paste, please. Okay, did it. Oof. All right, cool. So if you haven't had a chance, call in chat because we're going to fill up the lines as much as possible, and then we will be done. Yusuf, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Hey, I can hear you. What's up, TAETRO?
Awesome. Welcome back to the show. How are you this week?
Thanks. I'm fine. Just like working on some projects and stuff
Amazing.
as usual.
Yeah, I'm curious to know if the last piece of advice, the last time we had a call, was helpful. If you've applied anything that we talked about, I would love to hear about it.
Yeah, we talked about like creating a brand in Turkey. Like,
Oh, yes, perfect.
you remember that one, right?
Yes, of course.
So I bought a like camera stand for my phone, so I can start recording stuff on my Mark III launch key
That's so exciting.
and record myself. So I'm excited to create content.
Congrats, man. I'm stoked for you. I'm excited for you. Make sure I can find your channel when it's like live and ready. I know I'm not the Turkish audience, but I would like to follow along.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
What's
Thanks
your
for the
question this
support.
week?
So my question this week is, I have been working on music for like I think 3 years. Not like it's 3 years, but it's not fully like I haven't been working every time.
Right.
3 years. 3 years. I have like paused making music and give breaks. So I think I can say 2.5 years. And yeah, I know many producers like have been producing music for like 10 years, 7 years, and like 3 years is nothing.
Sure.
But-
Everybody's journey is different, though. Some people accomplish a ton in a small amount of time. Some people take a long time to accomplish not so much, you know? Don't think about the comparison too much.
Yeah, so it's about comparison. The question is about comparison. You actually talk about this a lot on your channel, but I thought I'd ask it and like get an insight on this thing, the question. So I tend to not like my song and compare my song to other people's songs, and I feel like, oh, like this is very creative. How did he think of this? Like, this is a great song. I will never be able to like produce this good. So why would I even produce? That's a bad thing to think. But like when there's really good music and very creative music, I just think my music sucks, and it demotivates me.
Totally. Well,
So like,
yeah, I'm smiling a little bit because I don't think I have this thought all the time about myself and my music. It's like I constantly hear tracks that it's like I will never produce something this good. Like I'll never do something this good. And then, you know, you get a couple years down the line and you're like, and you look I can only feel good about some of the work that I make looking back at it much time removed. Like, so one thing is your subjective point of view about your own work. You're always going to be your own worst critic. So you're never going to be able to view your work. Well, it takes a lot of work, I'll say, to get to a place where you can view your music from an outside perspective. It's nearly impossible to be able to look at it objectively, the same way you look at other people's work. If you actually this helps me a lot. If you try to activate the critical part of your brain that's active when you listen to your own music, try to activate that part of your brain when you're listening to music that you really like. Like when I sit and listen to some music that I really like, I'm just enjoying the music. At some level, I'll try to analyze. But then if I really go into that critical place, I'll be like, wow, that hi-hat's too loud, or wow, I wouldn't have mixed the vocals like this, or why does this sound so harsh, and why does the kick sound like this? If I really unlock that critical part of my brain and listen to music I love, I have some real critiques about the music that I love, a lot of it. But previously, we don't usually look at music that we don't have the ability to change, we don't look at with that same critical eye. I think that's really important to understand. The music that we make, we are looking at it from a point of view that we can open the project and we can change it and we can quote unquote improve it. We can make edits. Music that we don't have that option for, we view completely differently because we don't have the option to open up the project and edit it. But imagine a piece of music that you love and imagine you have access to the project, and what would you and listen to it through that context and tell me there won't be things that you say, I would have done this differently. I would have changed this. So that's one thing. And what that helps with is the understanding that it's not just that you hate your own music and love other people's music. It's that you don't look at those two things the same way at all. It's actually very mentally difficult to look at those two things the same way. So that's one way of one reminder you can tell yourself when you hear music that you love, then when you hear music that you make that you're not so hot on. The other thing is too, it's okay to have aspirations, and be realistic with those aspirations. Like if I hear a track that's created in some $1 million studio with $1 million equipment, I might say like, oh man, my tracks don't sound like that. But then I can also give myself a reality check and say, of course my tracks don't sound like that. I don't have $1 million studio with a $1 million equipment list. I have a 8x7 room with some gear that some brands send me sometimes. So like, can I get my stuff close? Maybe. I can probably get my stuff close. That's a motivating factor. I can say, well, I can't probably get to this spot with my limited equipment that I have, but I can probably get this close. And then you start to think about people like, Phineas and Billie Eilish, who I talk about all the time, because they are creating chart-topping music from a bedroom. Of course, they have lots of resources now, but if you listen to some of those early tracks, you'll definitely hear things that maybe you wouldn't be so proud of in them if it had been your track, but they released it anyway and got tons of attention over it, and now have the resources to make something even better and use different techniques to get us closer. We're closer now to not needing the $1 million studio and having just a laptop and doing stuff anyway. That is to say that it's okay to have aspirations and hear stuff that sounds better than what you make. I don't think you should get too caught up in the comparison tool, because I have that thought all the time. Man, that thing that person made, my music does not sound as great. What you need to change the pathway in your brain to say now is, instead of like, don't say, why bother? Why would I bother making music now if that person can make something this great and I only make this? You need to change that pathway in your brain to say, how do I get there? What are they doing? What steps are they taking to get that sound? And be really diligent about how you're learning. Like, being a home studio music producer is not just about making music. It's about learning how to make music and learning how to produce music. And sometimes we get so caught up in the musical idea portion and just creating stuff that we forget to learn the actual techniques involved in creating it. So try to change your mindset. Don't tell yourself, well, why can't I? Why should I even bother? Try to ask yourself, how can I get there? That's really, really the question you got to start asking yourself. How can I get there? And like I said at the top when you were talking about it, like the comparison game, everybody's journey is different. You have some 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds that become mega stars at a very young age, whether they were on a TV show or they had a hit single or whatever. And then you have some people, what is it? Like Vera Wang, who's one of the most, well-known dress designers, didn't start until she was in her 60s or 70s. Colonel Sanders was mad old when he opened KFC. Like, you have all these people super far into their journey of life at a higher age, starting what is the best work of their lives. So why put yourself in a box and say, I have to be this successful by this time? If you do that, you're going to be miserable. The only person you can compete with is yourself. Are you doing better today than you were yesterday? How about a year from now? Are you doing better today than you were a year ago? Have you improved? And I think undoubtedly, if you've been on this journey for about 2.5 years-ish, if you go listen to the music from 2.5 years ago, today's music sounds a lot better, right?
Yeah.
So picture that as a line. Picture that as a graph. You're starting here and your music was here. Now you're 2 years in and you've gone from here to here. You're raising the bar. And now, but now that's a trajectory that doesn't stop. That's like a rocket going up, right? So like if you stop here, your skill stops here. If you just don't stop and keep going, boom, you're going off like a rocket.
Yeah. That's why I said like I have been working on for 3 years. Like you said, everyone has a different journey. Some people do really amazing music, even though they just started. Like that's why I compared myself. Like I don't compare myself to.
You don't know what they have. You don't know what they have access to, what kind of house they grew up in, what kind of culture they were a part of, whether they had a musical family, whether they had access to tons of cool equipment or music lessons, or they were just, some people, like, I will never be a pro basketball player. But at some point in LeBron James' life, he started playing basketball and he realized, oh crap, I'm really good at it. And he just went for it and became a star. At some point, I stepped onto a basketball court and said, I'm never going to be a basketball star, Some people, now, could I have maybe, practiced and, really been committed to it? Yes, but I didn't have the spark to do that. I was never motivated around sports, so I knew I was never going to be a motivated sports player or a good sports player. But when I started playing keyboard or picked up the trumpet for this first time, and I found myself willing to sit there for hours trying to learn how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb, how many things would I sit there for hours and try to make such incremental success with? Not many. So I realized that in myself, that I something in me is driving me to do better and become a better musician. Whereas if you compare yourself to other areas, like nothing would motivate me to go, become a marathon runner and to train to run or to train to be a great basketball player or anything that's like, not really music. So there's something within us as musicians that says this is our thing. This is intuitively inside us. This is the thing I want to focus on. And regardless of if you're making incremental success, like me sitting in a room learning to play Mary Had a Little Lamb on the trumpet for hours, the moment I could actually play 2 bars of Mary Had a Little Lamb ignited this triumphant success in me because I was only comparing myself to me and my progress. It would have been impossible for me to look at famous trumpet players, Miles Davis, and say, well, Miles Davis exists. Why would I ever play the trumpet? If I did that, I wouldn't have stopped learning. Instead, I was competing with myself. I was saying, wow, yesterday I couldn't even make this thing make a noise. Today, I'm playing 2 bars of this very simple track and this very simple song. That extends to this music production and beat making process. Wow, yesterday I couldn't even, come up with a decent 4-bar loop. And today I feel really good about the 4-bar loop that I made. Or yesterday, my drums really sounded, dry and I didn't like the groove. But today I'm really feeling this groove. You're only competing with yourself. Only. So you got to trust that process because you can only view that in retrospect. You can only look at the tracks you made a year ago, today. And you can only look at your tracks now, a year from now, way in the future. So you have to just trust that yourself in the future is going to thank you for not giving up. Because when you look back at your music you're making now, a year from now, you're going to say, wow, not nearly as good as I made today. I'm making way better music now. But I know a year from even now, I'll make even better. So I can't stop even more. At some point, that's an exponential growth. Like you just keep growing and keep growing, as long as you're only competing with yourself. If you're competing with other people who are not you and do not have the same journey, you're going to be sad and demotivated. Instead, look at yourself. You're the only person you can compete with. Just do better than yourself.
Yeah. Very, very true words. Really, like this already motivated me to do music right now. But I have another quick question. Like I just thought about this when you were
talking.
So like, I should just question myself, not compare myself to others.
Absolutely.
But is it true to say maybe I'm not, music is a creative thing at the end? Like maybe I'm not creative enough. Like, or like is music really a creative thing, or is it a hard work uh, and like hard work pays off thing? It's both, but like
It's
maybe
completely
I'm
both.
not
You're
creative
right.
enough. I don't know.
You said it. It's both, and it's being comfortable enough within that struggle between the two, because you have the creative side, and that's like really fun a lot of the times, making new stuff. But the struggle is when your creative energy doesn't match your technical skill, and these will interchange, right? So at some point you might say, okay, I need to focus on my technical skill. My creativity is there. I have the ideas. I can create stuff. But now my technical skill is holding these creative ideas back. So let me build up my technical skill. Now suddenly your technical skill is above where your creative skills are. And you constantly have to match those up. Okay, now let me work on being better at creating. And I'm telling you, I'm constantly in that struggle of, man, I want to add 808s to my tracks because I hear a lot of people doing that, and that's very popular. I got to figure out how to technically make these sound good in the mix and how to actually like set these up. Okay, that's a technical thing. But now I'm like, man, my tracks are, I'm just not feeling the looping structure of these tracks. I've got to find something new. I've got to get more creative. So then I'm doing a deeper dive into, the arrangement of other people's tracks and getting more creative. But that will always exist, no matter where you're at. And it exists for everybody who's a creative person. The struggle between technical skill and creative energy. Those are constantly at a push and pull.
So it's a constant balance between the two.
Yes, and you're not doing anything wrong. That's the major thing here. You're not doing anything wrong by having that struggle. We are all having that struggle, and that's why I'm trying to do more of these Mentor Monday streams and more of, the uncut stuff, and to show the real raw process, because it's not all the glamour you see on YouTube. It's not all the glamour you see from your favorite artists, whether they have videos out or just amazing tracks out. It's not all easy and glamour. There's a lot of struggle behind being an artist, but that is the creative struggle. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just an artist.
Yeah. Seeing the uncut process really inspires me too. Like I can say, I think it inspires a lot of us, because like we're just not seeing the final product. We're seeing the process of it.
Absolutely.
So an idea pops up maybe from the process of it. So thanks for doing those, and I hope to see more of those.
Thank you, Yusuf. I hope that was motivating. I want to tell you, try to rewire your brain. It's going to take time, but you're not going to ask yourself anymore, why should I bother? You're going to say, how can I get there? You're going to say, what steps can I take to get better? That's what you got to do.
I'm already motivated, and I'm going to create some music right now.
Take advantage. It's the spark, so you're on the right path. Amazing.
Thanks a lot, TAETRO.
Have a good one, man.
See you. Good night.
Yeah, it's very, very important. Chat, if you're just tuning in, I know we got some folks watching, just tuning in the middle. Welcome to Mentor Monday. We do this show every Monday around 10 a.m. PST, where you can call in and ask your creative questions around being a home studio music producer or creative, things like that. If you're not yet, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I've got a really awesome video coming out tomorrow, guys. New piece of gear. That's all I'm going to say. Very exciting. Let's go ahead. We have a few more calls today. I don't know if I'll be able to get to all the calls today, so I'm going to try to grab, you can stay in the waiting room, but I'm going to try to grab people that haven't been on the show before, and then I'll kind of rapid fire. So let's do one question per person for now going forward, and we'll just try to power through these. We're going on an hour and 20 minutes here today, but that's cool. I'm having a great time, and hopefully this is motivating for all of you. Again, if you want to take some of these conversations and motivations with you on the road, you should check out the podcast. Let me grab the link for you somewhere, or maybe somebody else can post the link for me if you can. This call's actually taking a minute anyway, so let me just type it. Anthony, I'm trying to connect, but I'm not sure if it's working. So if you're there, Anthony, watching the stream, just know that I am trying to connect to you. But chat, there's the link to the podcast. that link will take you to whatever podcast platform you listen to on. If you want to take some of these motivational subjects with you on the go, listen to them as podcasts, and you want to listen to some of the interviews. Anthony, we're having trouble connecting, so unfortunately I got to put you back in the waiting room, or it just says joining. It's stuck on joining now. Interesting. We haven't heard from Gabu in a while, so I'm going to see if I can admit Gabu. Or maybe Zoom is actually giving me an issue. Oh, nope, Gabu is on. What's up, Gabu? How's it going?
We haven't heard from, no, just a second.
It's okay.
Hello.
Hi, you haven't called in a while. I hope things are well.
Yeah, I'm great. Like, how about you?
I'm pretty good. What's your question today?
Actually, I asked one of the questions. I have another question. So, I was thinking to make a video for my YouTube channel for I wanted to make a new video, but my friends who wanted to record for stuff, they're kind of far from me. Like I used to do it in college, but my college is way far from my home.
Yep.
So I thought you could suggest some software for recording stuff, including videos and both the audios without the delay issues.
Okay, so you've got some delay. So you're trying to sync the audio and the video after?
Yes.
Right. So I've done this a couple different ways. First, I use a program called Final Cut Pro, which actually automatically matches audio for me. So it might be worth investing in a tool like that, like Final Cut Pro. Also, where else? I've done a lot with just manually syncing things up. One technical thing you got to make sure of is the sample rate that you're recording at. So you want to figure out what audio sample rate your video is recording at, what audio sample rate your audio is recording at, and make sure it matches, or else you'll get some drift. Then there's also the option of just recording directly into the camera if you can. I know my camera has a little audio in jack that I could just jack right into, but that would be my technical advice for you there.
Okay.
It's a bit of a struggle, but it's worth investing in a tool like, Final Cut Pro has an educational discount if you do have like a student ID or something.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, perfect. So then you can get a student discount on that, and you can sync it up. It'll save you so much time.
Yeah, I can go with that. And how do if I have an option of connecting a mic with my cam? Actually, I have a DSLR, Nikon D5300, but I was planning to buy a mic too, but I thought mic would be too costly for things to record, at least like the vocal parts and all. I thought I would need a good mic. So
yeah,
I was thinking if I could.
You want to record that separately, especially for the music stuff, unless you're talking about recording like talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like a video mic Go from Rode that will plug right into your, if your camera has an audio input jack, that's totally fine. They make lots of camera mounted shotgun mics that you can use.
Oh, then I'm going to try with that.
Cool. Good luck. Let us know when the new video goes up so we can all watch.
Sure, Nick. Thank you.
Awesome. Keep making stuff. All right, let's keep on going. Tim Funk says my audio and video is currently not in sync, but let me know if that's true. Itora Dog says seems fine to me. I see a few patrons in the chat. Drummy Geo is a new patron, and I saw some others. If you're a patron, just drop it in the chat. Drop some crazy emojis in the chat and tell me if you're a patron. You all, if you wanted to support the channel, you could go to patreon.com/TAETRO. You can join for as little as $1. Along with the podcast feed, we have clips from Mentor Monday on there. We have full interviews, motivating stuff, but we'll also be picking up again with the music reviews. And that's something I do on TAETRO Radio for folks that are in the Patreon and in the Discord server. And how you get there is by joining for as little as $1. But if you are interested in supporting the channel, I know it's a crazy time for everybody, so I don't expect everybody to, but would be cool. Regina is here. Regina's patron. That's amazing. Oh, what did I name the little creature? So this is my little Pikachu/alien situation. I decided to name him Boo. That was a suggestion from a young man who I have a close relationship with He was one of my kids from the after school program that I used to work at, and we stayed connected. And his nickname is Boo, and he suggested that we name him Boo, so I decided that was a cool, that would be a cool name, cool homage. John Cozen, another patron. That's amazing. Yes. I'm so stoked for that. All right, we got to jump in. I see some frequent callers. So let's go ahead and let them in. 4 more callers or 3, and we'll do this quick. Gabriel, how's it going?
Hey, it's been fine. How about you?
Good. Welcome back to the show.
No, thank you. And basically my question, since you said that like you have to make quick and just one question, it's what is the difference between for example, songwriter or composer and a producer? What's the difference between those roles?
It's tough. So songwriter, obviously we relate more closer to like lyrics. So there's that. But I will say that I use a lot of songwriting skills, like composition skills that come along with songwriting in my electronic music making, especially when it comes to arranging my tracks. So I use a lot of traditional song structures. And that's what I take from that world. A producer, there is not a clear distinction between these two things, and I don't want to say. A lot of people, especially in the music community, get caught up in, adding labels to things and putting things in very confined boxes. But songwriter, composer, producer, they all get wrapped into one occasionally. So like, what do we relate to producers? Well, producers are usually the people behind the computer. But a producer can be a composer. Like that's what I do. I compose music, I make tracks, but I also produce the music because I'm doing some audio engineering as well. Songwriter might have a little more to do with creating the actual musical ideas, but again, the producer composer also does that. So I really want to say that don't put things in too much of a confined box, and don't worry too much about the labels, because you might find that on your musical journey you're going to cross boundaries, especially nowadays we fill a bunch of different roles as an all-in-one producer, composer, songwriter. So don't try to fit yourself too much in a box. Did you want to ask one more quick one? Because that was kind of a quick question.
I mean, that's basically it, because I've been working on some beats and just trying to dive in a lot on some, like how to get the most out of Ableton. So like right now, I don't have any questions. Actually, I found out TAETRO. I don't know if you have heard of it. What's your thoughts on that? If you have heard.
What is it again? Can you say that again?
It's TAETRO, TIDAL.
Oh, the streaming service.
Yeah.
It's all right. I mean, I used TAETRO for a while. I'm not sure if there's still stuff exclusively on there, like if Jay-Z stuff is exclusively on there. I use Spotify now. They're all kind of the same, as long as there's not something missing from one streaming platform. Like, I don't know. I just like the convenience of Spotify. Had TAETRO for a while because I think some of Kanye's stuff was dropping there exclusively. But hey, if it has the music on there you enjoy, I think it's cool.
And oh yeah, I just remembered when I'm trying to loop in Ableton with my MPK Mini 2, I have like some of a delay, I think, when I'm using the pads. I don't know if that's like kind of normal or
could be one of two things. So the buffer, the latency, so the buffer size, you might want to change that. But that's also just a function of Ableton Live. What Ableton Live is doing is keeping everything in time. So you have your tempo, you make sure you're listening to your metronome, and usually there's a record launch quantization, which is a very fancy way of saying that it won't start or stop recording until the next downbeat. If it's on 1 bar, which is I think what it defaults to. If it's on 1 bar, it doesn't work like a traditional guitar looper where you just press it and it starts and stops the loop. It works instead to keep things in time by aligning everything with the downbeat. So when you push that button, it's not a delay. You just it'll start looping on the next downbeat. So you might be pushing it too late, push it before a downbeat, and it'll start looping on the next immediate downbeat.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that helps a lot. And yeah, that's it for this week. I hope next week we'll have more time and I can call in again with some more questions.
You absolutely can, man. Thanks so much for calling in.
Thank you for answering.
Have a good one. All right, 3 more callers. Should we get our friend Dan in here? I think so. Dan is sometimes the first caller. Dan, oh, Dan can't hear me yet. What's up, Dan? How's it going?
Good.
Great to see you. So last week we talked about you got to get some music done before school starts up again. How's that journey coming?
Yes. Actually, great news. Yesterday, first track finally finished.
Really?
Edited, done. Really everything.
Where can we listen to it?
Not yet. Like,
can you email it to me so I can listen to it?
Yeah, sure.
If you attach it to an email, and then
yeah, sure.
Maybe if you feel comfortable, next week we can take a listen to it on stream.
Ooh, cool.
Well, just send it to me. I'll give it a listen. I'll give you some feedback at least, and then if you want to show it off on stream, we can show it off on stream.
Yeah, and I actually have Ableton opened up, and I'm starting to work on my second one already.
That's what I like to hear. Keep going. Don't stop. Did you have a question today?
Yes. My question is like, what got you into making music? Like, what inspired you to just start making beats and, well, making your channel, starting everything you've done?
That is a good question. It's a multifaceted question. We kind of talked about this with the earlier caller, but I just kind of realized that I had some type of passion for music at a certain point where I was like, I was willing to put some time in and learn music. And I was like thinking differently about music than I was thinking about other things. I had a natural inclination to it. My brother, I have a much older brother who played, not much older, but like 11 years older. And he played in bands. He played in a band and he played guitar. So that was like my exposure to, being around people making music. And then I just kind of took that and ran with it and played in band in school and learned the trumpet and etc. And eventually I started writing my own songs because I became passionate about songwriting. So I started writing those and playing those. And then I really liked performance. Then I started producing those songs, which is what got me into electronic music. But I liked more the creative process around electronic music versus the performance aspect. So that's how I started to get into video because I wanted to film my performances. And that eventually led to the YouTube channel because not only did I like filming, creating electronic music, but I also liked teaching. So I was teaching outside of, doing music, teaching music. So I decided to combine those things together and teach on YouTube, but also be an artist on YouTube. And that's kind of how it's all happening. So I had motivating people in my life. And then I also I idolized. I looked up to a lot of different musicians, like a lot of different bands and stuff. Like I really, really wanted to be these musicians that I was looking up to. So it was all about the journey of like, how do I get there? How do I make music that, means as much to me as, some of my heroes?
Okay. Like, I didn't hear what you said before because I was watching other YouTube videos while waiting for you to call.
Yeah. I feel like I kind of covered it. I forget which call I was just referencing, but yeah.
I didn't hear it.
It comes down to coming from a singer-songwriter background to then landing in music production and just wanting to create music that people like to listen to, like as much as not necessarily for other people, but like I love music so much that I wanted to make music that people also loved.
Okay. Yeah. And like for me, music, like I like all types of music, pop, electronic, like all types of music I like music, and that's why it inspired me to start making music.
Great. Yeah, totally. And then you'll be able to make music that other people love and that you yourself love, most importantly. And you'll totally be able to do that.
And I also and like you said, you started getting into like making performances. I also want to start doing that. That's why I've been looking at the I'm buying some maybe microphones and camera and stuff to start making videos too.
Dude, And it like I'm 28 and you're super young. So by the time that you are my age, you're going to be miles ahead better than me if you're starting now. So just keep that, like, don't ever give up. Keep that in mind that if you just keep working hard at what you do, you know, the path will curve and go different directions at certain points in your life because you have so much ahead of you. But if you stay on track and keep pushing forward with this passion, you will be so far ahead by the time you're not only a year from now, 5 years from now, and then by the time you're eventually my age, you'll be very good at what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just keep going, man.
Thanks. Yeah.
I'll hear from you next
Bye.
week. I'll be waiting for that track. Make sure you send it in the email.
Yep. Yeah, probably send after the stream.
Cool. All right. Peace out.
Yeah. Bye.
Rolling through. We have 3 more calls to take. The calls are closed. John Ong asks, do you always edit your own videos? Most of the time. How long have you been using your 5100? I don't use a 5100. I use a Lumix GH5 now. I used to use the Sony A5000. Improve on making videos. Just keep making videos. That's my tip. Keep making videos. Watch other videos. Emulate videos that you like. Samuel Messiah is on the air.
Hey, TAETRO.
What's going on? We have gone for so long that all of my lights, besides the neon lights, have gone out.
Yeah.
We're going for a long one today. What's your question today, Samuel?
So I have 2 questions and like several remarks.
Let's hear it.
I just backed out of the idea of buying a microphone just because I don't really feel like it's worth investing in. I mean, I'm totally fine with the webcam I'm working with right now.
Cool. Great. Yeah, that's fine. Good for you for making that decision. And it might be that you just don't need high quality microphone recording at the moment. Like you can do great work just within your DAW without recording anything with a microphone. So I think that's totally fine.
Yeah.
You should wait till you can't live without it. That's basically like when you're at a point where you really need it, you can't live without it. That's when you should get it. But don't struggle to find a reason to buy it.
Yeah. And adding to your point that you were talking about earlier, I mean, a few days ago, I just sat until like 1, 2 a.m. just arranging all the sessions I've been making.
Amazing. And now maybe that process worked for you, but wouldn't it have been a lot easier if you just arranged every session when you were working on that session? You know, you wouldn't have to be up till 1 to 2 a.m. arranging all the different sessions. But also, maybe you like that process. Did you have fun doing it?
Yeah, it was fun just like getting on the computer, doing like arranging them in a few seconds and then just listening to the whole track. It was nice.
And Samuel, how old are you? Can you remind me?
I'm 13.
All right, Samuel, 13. Chat, for those of you, like, we can learn from anybody, first of all. Like, who am I to learn from? But also, like, we can learn from Samuel, who's only 13 right now, because how you split your creative process is super important. So, like, you know, my suggestion is, of course, before you leave each session, arrange it. But Samuel just told me he had a great time going into all his sessions and arranging them all, like doing a really like a batch arrangement session, which if you can segment your creative process like that, that is like super helpful for your brain to focus on one kind of thing, to not have to jump from different tasks, but to really have if you say, okay, on Fridays, I'm going to arrange all my tracks from the week. If you do that and that works for you, you should absolutely capitalize on splitting your process like that. That's great, Samuel. I appreciate you sharing that.
Oh, thank you. So, going into my first question.
Rapid fire here, Samuel. Running long. Rapid fire.
I tried to find a good like video on YouTube of what makes a beat drop good. Like, I mean, I found things like risers, but I mean, like, those things are old now.
Some of them. Yeah, true. And one thing you should look for, instead of like how to make a great drop, you should find songs that you like that have great drops and just listen to them. Like, super not just listen to it like a song you enjoy, but listen to it super critically and listen to it like you're the one who's going to produce the song and reverse engineer in your head how they made that great drop. Now, bonus points if you can Google that track and you can find a tutorial on how the producer made it. A lot of tracks that exists. But absolutely, you should start activating that critical part of your brain when you're listening to music that you actually like, so that you can reverse engineer it and create it yourself. Because you say like some of the risers and stuff you hear are old. Maybe you're watching stuff from the dubstep days or whatever, dubstep days or whatever. But some of the techniques are still useful. Just some of the sounds and the window dressing kind of changes around it. So listen critically to those songs that you like, and you're smart. Reverse engineer it in your head. Then also just do a quick search and see if there is a tutorial that has that particular song or songs by that artist with similar drops.
Yeah. My cousin told me about this YouTuber called I'm a Music Mogul.
Yeah, very
and he
cool
recreates
producer.
tracks in Logic, I think.
Yes, that he's a super inspiring YouTuber. Definitely worth watching. And then once you dive into like his content, you find content that's like his, and you'll enjoy it for sure. And just kind of always watch things. Like you're a musician now, Samuel, right? Like you're a home studio music producer. So you got to look at things not just as a consumer. You got to look at things as a creative yourself. So look at things and constantly be asking yourself, how would I do this? How would I make it? How do people make things like this? That's what you can do. That's how you have to start viewing things.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I was thinking about the beat drop thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you can't find a sample, just record it. It's almost as good.
True. And you can do a lot
Just
with
like
sound design.
acapella style.
True. You don't necessarily need to even find the sample. You can find some free samples of static. And if you take that static and you fade it in, boom, you have a riser.
Yeah. That's what I used to do. I used to record like me blowing into the mic.
Perfect.
And then just
but also check out like
in.
freesounds.com or freesounds.org. I forget what it is. There's lots of free samples out there that you can find.
Nice.
Samuel, I'm running long, so I got to jump to the last two callers. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, cool. I'm sure you'll be calling in next week too.
Yeah, I will.
Awesome. Thanks so much for calling in, Samuel.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Travarsi in the chat. What's up, Travarsi? Thanks so much. Appreciate the kind words. Carlos, well, I'm going to go Pablo and then Carlos, okay? Pablo is coming in. Here we go. And thanks. Oh, maybe Pablo's not at his computer. That would be tragic. Tragic moment. Chat, thank you so much for tuning in to Mentor Monday. We have 2 more calls today. I know we have gone long for 2 hours, but thank you all so much for hanging. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And we've got a cool video coming out tomorrow, so make sure notifications are on. I'm going to try to get that video up by 10 a.m. EST tomorrow morning, which I think is 7 a.m. my time. So turn notifications on because you're not going to want to miss tomorrow's video, I promise. And I have so much Instagram content coming out this week about the new thing that's dropping tomorrow. It's just unbelievable. I don't think Pablo's there, so I guess we just have Carlos left. Carlos is coming in. Chat, I will share with you, Carlos, real quick before we jump into your question. I want to share with the chat. I went to go shoot a video the last 2 days of the product that's coming out tomorrow. And I went to this really amazing place and forgot my Mac adapter to plug it in via USB to my Mac. So I didn't get to film it there, unfortunately. Hello, Carlos. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
What's your question? You're the last call of the day today.
Well, I wanted to ask, well, I had a question, but someone already said it for me. I was gonna say, what type of samples do you use for your lo-fi songs?
Samples for the lo-fi songs. That's a good question. So I've been working with ADSR for a while, and they have a lot of really good lo-fi kits. There's a couple like super chill lo-fi kits. I also use Splice a lot which is just easy to find lo-fi samples. But like, of course, the key thing is like in lo-fi, if you've got a nice vinyl crackle sound, like you can pretty much make any sound lo-fi by rolling off some high end and then adding a little bit of bit reduction or sample reduction, things like that. But if you're very deliberate about the samples you want to get, I also use Lo-Fi Glow by Native Instruments. But if you're really serious about creating lo-fi music, it's very much worth investing into even just one sample pack, even if you can pay like $5 for a single sample pack and just making as much with that as possible. But especially stuff that's just straight up branded lo-fi, don't do too much work yourself in trying to, make something that's not lo-fi, even though it is fun to do. If you really just want to get into making music, find a lo-fi sample pack, branded lo-fi sample pack that will just get you off and running a lot faster.
Okay.
Was that your question today?
Yeah.
That's great. Well, how is the music making process going? Because we've listened to one of your tracks before, right?
Yeah.
Are you putting out more on SoundCloud? Hopefully people are following Carlos on SoundCloud.
Yeah, I was working on a track while I was waiting in the call.
Great. That's a great use of your time. That's amazing. Everybody should follow your example.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's been going really great. Like, I made my first album. I'm working on another album right now. And,
That's amazing. Keep pushing through, keep making stuff, and don't stop putting stuff out. Just keep making, and everything you make will be better than the last thing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in, Carlos.
No problem.
Talk soon. Chat, we went for a long stream today, nearly 2 hours, and I appreciate you all tuning in today. If you haven't yet, I've dropped the link a couple times, but if you want to take some of these conversations with you on the go in podcast form, highly recommend you go to the link that I just dropped in the chat and subscribe to TAETRO Radio on your favorite podcast platform. That link will give you links to all your favorite, whether you listen on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, whatever it may be. Subscribe to the podcast for sure. New video out tomorrow, probably bright and early in the morning for me at least. So stay tuned for that. I've got a little bit of editing to finish, and then we'll probably do a stream later this week for the new product, so we can kind of have some fun with it and people can ask questions. A new track coming out on Saturday, so make sure you're following me on Spotify and all that. I'm excited for that. Another kind of like lo-fi trap beat. Those of you who tuned into the ADSR live streams will know what track it is. We kind of finished it on stream. Nick Lovin, glad you made it, but you made it to the end. Glad you could make it. I've got a lot of video content planned for the next couple of weeks, chat. So your support means a lot. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. About 79 to 80% of the watch time on my channel is from people who are unsubscribed. And we're really trying to push for 100K subscribers by the end of the year. We just hit 91K. So if you want to join the party, click the subscribe button. Or if you know a friend who you think will like the channel as well, send them a link to the channel or one of your favorite videos. The biggest thing you can do to help the channel is like and comment on every post that you can, and then just watch some of the playlists. I have full beat making playlists, controller specific playlists. If you watch a lot of my videos, it tells the algorithm that people like watching multiple of my videos. So that's really helpful. Thank you all so much for calling in to the Mentor Monday. It was a really successful one. It was a long one, but I had a lot of good calls, and hopefully we can learn from a lot of the people on the stream today. Really appreciate you all. You all are like the best community a person could ask for. Thank you for folks who tuned in the middle. Thank you for folks who tuned in from the beginning. Thank you for folks who just tuned in and are catching the end. But if you are just catching the end, full stream will be up once it's done processing. So don't worry, you can watch later. Patreon.com/TAETRO if you are interested in, supporting the channel monetarily. It would be very grateful. You can support for as little as $1. But thank you all so much for watching. This has been TAETRO with another Mentor Monday. Have a good one.